Happy today. Happy today, everyone. My name is William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. And I noticed there's a couple things that I have to do that, technology kind of does what it wants. And I really, I need to stop doing that. But what happens is if I don't make this public on my page, I won't be able to see your comments. And so I want to be able to see your comments, and I think we're good now. But I don't know. Yesterday I had to change it, and it looked kind of crazy. And I'm just kind of going from there. The one thing that I've noticed about this one word conversations is that um, conversations are opportunity to learn something, to get a better understanding about something, to really connect with people on a level that makes a difference. And the one thing that I thought I was committed to, um, or I wanted, was a perfect conversation, or a great conversation. But sometimes conversations are just conversations, and just have um, um, have conversations and just see what happens. And I think with our topic today of rest, is just really looking at how rest shows up in our life, or it doesn't show up in our lives, and my life in particular. But I wanted to bring one of my friends in to just have a conversation about rest, and just see, during this time of pandemic and staying at home and a lot of things that we're dealing with in our lives, just to see where rest plays a part in that. So I will bring up my friend, and hopefully I'll hit the right button. Um, and there you are. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's like I have been in technology for a number of years, and technology still surprises me when it works, right?
It's a happy surprise.
A happy surprise.
Yeah.
So, Jennifer, I would love for you to introduce yourself, however you would like.
Okay. Okay. My name is Jennifer Jines, and let's see the labels I'm identifying with today. I live in Los Angeles, but I'm a transplant from the East Coast. I'm a friend of Bill's. That's a very important label.
Hey, that's a good label.
I am a scavenger hunt enthusiast. But I guess I'd say the main thing is I've been a lifelong student of human behavior. I'm fascinated by psychology. I got my undergraduate degree in that. I'm also a positive psychology practitioner. Um, and the latest thing is I consider myself a kindness um, amplifier, which means I show you places where kindness can come into your life. I show you places where kindness already exists that you might be missing it.
Mhm.
Um, and I like to wrap that up with fun and play. So I have a company called Kindageous that just helps you harness the power of kindness in relating to any group that you might be a part of. So
No, wonderful. And I'm
that's a
sure
briefly.
kindness will come up again. I guess when we were going back and forth, well, not really back and forth, but when
No,
I was,
when you
looking
just said,
at your,
"Here's your word."
wh- when I was looking at your word, I was like, maybe I should say, kind. Let's kind of explore that. And I was like, no, kindness will come
No.
up in our
Yeah,
conversation. So
yeah,
it'll be all right. Let's kind of look at something
yeah.
else.
No, I
So when you
appreciate.
hear,
Good. No, I was gonna say I
no, I was just saying,
appreciate the opportunity to think about a different word that I might not have. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
right. No, no, oh no, I recognize in having conversations that, I call myself a good listener, and I think I am, but boy, can I talk? So,
Me
sometimes
too.
I just kind of go, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
listen, kind of let the other person be involved. But so how does rest show up in your life, or how does that land for you right now?
Right now. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, yeah, it's interesting because we're being asked to pause, on a lot of levels. And it's interesting because now, whereas we were kind of craving rest, I think sometimes now it's just
Mm,
like, well, now that it's being forced on us, then we have a different attitude about it.
right.
But um, what I was gonna say, because you said right now, but when I started thinking about the word rest and like just my relationship with it long term as opposed to just right now. Um, it's really interesting because I got such mixed messages as a kid about rest.
Mm, mm,
Um, I found my kindergarten report card, which said she's all ready for first grade with this exception that she cannot keep her body still, and she talks a lot,
right.
and she
For a lot.
tries nobly, and it was underlined 3 times, but she's never successful. And then I just had a lot of stuff to say.
Right.
But on the other hand, I was a big sleeper. Like I
Mm,
slept a lot, and
mm,
it was always kind of like, well, Jennifer needs a lot of rest. Like it wasn't a good thing. So I
right.
was getting this like, don't be super busy, but also don't sleep a lot, which you
Right.
need you need the rest in order to be, in that state. So it was just
Right.
I just then it just kind of begged the deeper question about how we view rest in general, because
Right.
it wasn't necessarily a positive message I was getting that I was honoring my need for rest. It was this kind of almost like, well, some people need more rest, but it wasn't a
Right.
good thing. There was, and I'm not sure that I internalized that, but it's just interesting to me because I do think that, and it's not saying anything bad about my family or my parents, but societally, I think it was just like that needing a lot of rest is some sort of character deficiency or is a little bit lazy or so it's
Right.
interesting. Yeah.
No, no, I totally get that. There is um I guess a fear that I am not busy enough, right? That I am
Yeah.
not active
Right.
enough, that I'm not,
Right.
it's like anytime that I want to, take a moment or
Right.
relax in something or do it, it's
Right.
like, okay, get back to work,
Right.
get back in this.
Right. Right.
And it's like, even when it's like, I don't feel, like I'm like, at my best, or I don't, I need something to kind of recharge. But there's this pushing, this nudging that I gotta stay in it.
Right.
I took a nap yesterday, which I
Nice.
thought that it was, going to be like, a half an hour, 45 minutes, and it was like a couple hours, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I was set
Yeah.
up to
Yeah.
kind of finish some things that I was working on, and it was like at 7 o'clock at night, and I'm waking up, and it's like, what am I doing with my life? Right.
Yeah.
Right. you know,
So
you know,
much
you know,
judgment. Yes,
right.
and
Yeah.
slacker. Yeah.
And I just, I just like, okay, I guess I needed it. I guess, I,
Mhm.
whatever, but it is just really, um, honoring what your
Yeah.
body needs, what
Yes,
your mind needs,
absolutely.
and why do you think that's so difficult for us at times?
Um, well, I think you said something important. That's what your body needs. I think a lot of times we're disconnected, like from the neck down, like what the body is sending us signals all the time,
Right,
and I think that we're kind of disconnected from the things it's trying to tell us, which, not to get dark, but that's how disease happens, and inflammation
right,
building up in our body when we're just not responding to the signals that the body is sending us. And I
right,
do think there's an ingrained uh, just this ingrained sentiment that you gotta earn your worth, and you gotta keep going. And especially with the internet, you can see everyone's hustling and whatever. So I just think,
Right.
and it probably evolved from something evolutionarily where you got to keep moving, right? Because if
Right.
you're napping, you might get snatched up, right? So
Right. Right.
I think,
Right.
I think the reptilian brain remembers. I think that's probably a part of it where, not stopping and resting wasn't in your best interest from a survival standpoint. We're
Right.
obviously very much removed from that at this point, but there's definitely a residue of that left. And
Right.
I think that we even do a better job of saying, oh, we value rest, or you should value rest, as opposed to really walking the walk around it.
Right.
So and it's interesting. Like I said, I have my certificate in positive psychology, and we had this whole unit on sleep, and I thought I understood. Yeah, sleep's good for you, but just like going through all the medical things and the hormones and everything that resets, and just like how important it is and how awful sleep deprivation is. And one of the exercises was we went out and we took a 15-minute nap, and it was lovely. So I was like, oh, this is part of our class. We get to nap. But it really,
Right.
yeah, it really drove home the point that it really is important. Now I know
Right.
sleep is different than rest, but it's
Well,
the
how is it
same.
for you? How do
Yeah.
you think it's different
Well,
for you?
um, because I think it's possible. When I first started thinking about the word, I think obviously the first association is, to sleep, right? Or to nap, or to whatever, to hit pause. But you can take metaphorical rest. You can just, hit pause on what you're doing. You could even, put, hit pause on your brain and just take a rest from what you're, excuse me, currently thinking. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like a physical act of going and lying
Right.
down, or
Right.
even meditating. Um, and like my word for the year is equanimity, which is to have mental composure when there's a lot going on. I'm like, well, that's just a fancy
Hmm.
word for rest, right? That's to
Right.
literally take a rest from whatever is happening, or whatever is, going on in your brain. So um, I think that you can still interject little moments of rest rather than thinking of it as having to be a sustained period of shutting down, for lack of a better word. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, and no,
Yeah.
it does. I mean, and have been about 20 more than 25 years in the audiovisual technology, industry.
Hmm.
And I can remember in the beginning parts of that feeling that I don't have time to rest. I don't, I have to, the computers are going, the everything is going. I need to keep up with that. And any time that I pause, or any time that I kind of just, sat back, there was a saying that it just came to mind, that a large part of my work was hurry up and wait.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
if you unpacked hurry up and wait, it's
Right.
just like, even in your waiting, you're
Right.
busy,
Right.
in
Right.
in stuff. And it's like, you couldn't just wait for the next event or wait for the next thing. You have to hurry up and wait for that. And
Right.
it's like almost being on alert. And it's
Yes.
like, that's how my life was showing up for me, just being on alert, but realizing that the activity of being on alert was taking me out of this rest state, and it was like depleting me of energy.
Right.
And it's like, when I was called to to fix someone's AV, or to
Hmm.
to be at home, or to kind of deal with something, I was like spent. And
Right.
most of my, let's just say, poor decisions or questionable decisions, has something, it's been related to my rest. How how
Right.
you know you know
Yeah.
you need to take a nap first. You're just irritable or or something. It just
Yeah.
felt like I had no control. I had no control of that.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. When my daughter was younger, she was an actress, and we had a lot of hurry up and wait, and that's really hard on a kid, like you said, because it's not well. And they added another layer of, oh, but also do some school while you're waiting. But
Yeah.
we might be there in 10 minutes, or we might be there in an hour and a half, or
Right.
this depends on how things are going. But that's a really good point because your energy, the anticipatory energy toward what's coming can't coexist with truly resting,
Right.
like you're saying. So that's not that's not really resting. That's waiting, and that's different.
Right.
Yeah.
And and it's like I said, it was something that I put on myself, and there was an expectation, of my work. And
Right.
I've been the last 5 years, I've adopted a meditation lifestyle, and kind of, for me, there's been a lot of starts and stops, and it's mainly because of my expectations of what it is. It's like,
Mhm.
it has to be, all perfect, and all this. I have to
Yeah.
be, clear in my mind, and all that kind of stuff that we say about what meditation is.
Yeah.
And the more in the last year or so, it has just been a time to just take a moment with myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's a half an hour, sometimes it's an hour. And it's just whatever is needed to kind of set the intention for my day, or the
Mhm.
moment, or the task at hand. And and it just really, it's a vital part of my day, now that I let go all of the baggage of
Mhm.
what it is and what it isn't. What are some ways that you find rests, or you find, or you kind of embrace that for yourself?
Um, yeah, I have a fairly consistent sitting down practice, usually meditation, um, and you're right. I had the same sort of journey where I had to. It doesn't need to look like this because I went through a
Right.
thing where it just needs to be on my own, right? I need to be just
Right.
sitting in silence. And it was like, well, guided meditation's okay. And so
Mhm.
just kind of getting to the point where it's I notice a difference if I don't start out the day
Right.
with that
Absolutely.
sort of centering or that sort of intention. And it's it's kind of funny that we're having judgments about ourselves about meditation. I mean, that's just
Right.
kind of funny.
Right.
But anyway,
Right.
so I do, and I did try to experiment with, well, it doesn't have to be the beginning of the day, but it does, because then it gets away from me or other things happen. And I notice I just don't have the same, um, I don't know if I want to say calmness, but just the same intention for the day, even if it was only, you know, 2
Right.
minutes. It doesn't matter. It was just that centering is really important, for me because I also, um, I'm still that same kindergartner. I'm like,
Right.
I am my brain is going here and there, and I like to play. I love to play and think of
Right.
creative ideas and whatever, so it really is important to
That
have.
noble endeavor, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm still feeling that sort of that tension, uh, back to the five-year-old where, yes, I do like to talk a lot, and play and do whatever, but I also love to sleep or be still or whatever, and I kinda think you need, both ends of the spectrum in order to have the balance.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a part of your work of being kind, or finding kindness, is a way to work through, how we approach rest. Be
Mhm.
kind to ourselves,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, and really, look for those moments
Right.
to, um,
Right.
just take what is needed.
Right. Yeah, and that
And
no, that's very true. Sorry.
no, I didn't know if
Interrupting
you
you.
you want to. No, like
But
I
yeah,
said, I
well,
didn't know if you wanted to
it's
add anything to.
interesting because, that is part of I mean, part of what I had to learn, for lack of a better word, but then kind of also convey is you hear acts of kindness or being kind, and you're like, oh, that's outward. That's an outward facing activity, right? I'm doing
Mm,
something for someone else, or I'm thinking of someone else, which of course it is, but you can't, what, I guess you could be doing that, but you're depleting your own resources if you're
right.
not starting with yourself.
With
And
yourself, right.
right. And it can be, very little things. It doesn't need to be, big grand gestures, the bubble bath or whatever, but it's also, that's where the self-compassion comes in. Is And if we want to tie it into what's happening in the world today, just the you are doing the best that you can. And
Right.
especially when you're in unprecedented times, and even if you're not in unprecedented times, to really genuinely give yourself the same grace that you would give someone else that is having a hard time, or is just a human being, right? And is just trying to
Right.
figure out things. So that's actually a lot harder than it sounds, because
Mm,
it's just a layered thing. It could be the stories you have in the head from childhood, or societally, or whatever. But it really is important um, to be kind to yourself. And in this new version of the word rest, it's just like taking a minute, especially when you catch yourself being hard or being harsh or judgmental or whatever. Um, so yes, it definitely starts with yourself.
right. There was I think a couple of years ago, I don't know if Jonathan Fields, he did an essay on busyness.
Mm,
This doesn't sound like his words, but it was around that time when he did that essay and sent that out on busyness. But they were like, busyness is the new stupid, right? You know, it's just and it's like when you look at what's going on, in our lives, and I've heard, in some of our conversations that I've had, people say, we're off of autopilot, or this is a pause, or this is a
mm,
reset, and all of
mhm.
these things. And it's like, the universe, God, our society, or what, someone's, gave us a big timeout.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are we going to do in this
Mm,
in this
mhm,
moment,
mhm.
of rest, of time,
Right.
time out, take a break,
Yeah. Yeah.
take a rest. And sometimes, just going back to the meditation thing, in early stages, the first, few minutes was me judging what was happening and what wasn't happening. It's
Yeah.
like, this is still
Yeah.
happening. This is, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, why am I thinking about this? I'm supposed to be meditating, or right, it's like, what is the, and it's
Right.
like,
Right.
dude, you're stressing yourself out doing meditation,
About
right?
meditating.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I
And
know. It's pretty common, but yeah,
right.
I know.
And
I
that's,
know.
and that's how some people are using this reset time, this pause time. And it's like
Yeah.
just stressing out about this. And it's like, how can
Yeah.
we just let that go and just, um, I think sometimes we have a problem with enjoyment, right? I
Right.
have, I have said something before about, I have to eat my meal before I, have my dessert. It's
Mhm.
like, that's just, how I was raised, and that's just what
Right.
I believe. And
Right.
so, I take that into my business, that I have to be, I have to have a productive day in order to, like, have a win, or,
Right.
or kind of
Right.
celebrate something,
Right.
and just really enjoy or celebrate this moment that we're
Yeah.
given,
Yeah.
to recharge, to rethink, to reevaluate
Mhm.
how we're going to show up in our life and in our work.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know, bitching about it isn't going to help, right? Right,
Right. Right.
right,
Exactly. Well, and it also begs the question, what is a productive day? Like, what does that look
right,
like? You know, is
right,
that does not equate output, or something you can point to, right?
right,
Productivity could be, that you didn't judge yourself, and you actually sat there for 10-15 minutes, and like, this was the day that you didn't have those thoughts. Or when um and I learned this in one of my mindfulness classes or something, just the phrase of welcome back. Like if you're meditating and you think of something else and you catch yourself and you go back, it's like a really encouraging, like, welcome back. Like, that's great you came back, rather than where did you go when you're supposed to be, in your thoughts.
Right.
It was just like,
Right.
hey, cool, welcome back. And it's just a friendlier, way to
Mm.
think about it. You caught yourself. The point of meditation is to catch yourself and to come back. So
Right.
maybe you have a day where you actually do that and you feel good and there's no judgment. And that is all that happens that day. Nothing else
Right.
happens. It was still a productive day, right? Because you made
Right.
some good inroads into something that will ultimately, you know, provide some life satisfaction. So trying to define productive is very elusive, and especially right now, for sure. What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and there's another concept around rest for me that I've been exploring and trying on is that instead of looking for peace, I'm looking or I'm embracing rest.
Mm,
And this is how I process that, because
okay.
there was a lot of times that when I was growing up, I would hear my mom say, um, I want peace and quiet in here, you know,
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
and and really, I believe she was just saying, "I want quiet in here," right? And
Right. Right.
and so I recognize in areas of my life that I was asking for peace but accepting quiet.
Mm, mhm.
And I realized that even in quiet, there's could be a lot of unrest and a lot of
For
not
sure.
peace, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
there's
Right.
just silence, right.
Right, right.
And so instead of looking for peace for me, I am embracing rest. And so there's a level of insurance that it is, you know what, I don't fully understand this, but I'm going to rest that it is, everything is going to be all right, or I'm going
Mhm.
to be okay with the uncertainty, of it all. And
Yeah,
just kind
yeah.
of just look at it a different way. And sometimes, I feel like, that's a cop out, you need to,
Mm, I don't know.
you're,
Yeah,
but it's,
yeah.
it's that inner dialogue that I
Right,
have, around that. But
right, right. So
it
so you're
just, that,
you're leading. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, it's just like that mental
Yeah,
rest or that
yeah,
assurance
yeah,
that you have.
yeah.
Can you
Well, I
speak
mean,
to
so
that?
so you're so the leaning into the uncertainty, or the knowing that there isn't, in that moment, this is just what it is, and
Right.
I can't be at peace just because there is so much, but I'm going to accept that. So you're saying that that is how you view rest, which is, that's good. That's interesting. And that is exactly how it is right now. That is how it
Right.
is. There is so much uncertainty, and what's interesting is it was almost easier initially when they were like, okay, everybody stay home. But now I'm seeing a lot of dissenting, like, get back to business, no, stay home, differing um numbers, and is everybody being counted, and all that. So it almost seemed like in the beginning it was so much easier, but now,
Right.
and nothing's really changed about what we really do know. So I mean,
Right.
nothing's changed in that. So I think that's even more important now, um,
Right.
and especially as we get uh, weary. In the beginning, and
Right.
Brene
It's
Brown said, the adrenaline's going and it's new and whatever, and now it's just like, now we don't
right.
know how long is this going to
Right.
last, and what, you know what what's going to happen, or whatever, what's it going to look like. um so to be able to rest, like you're saying, to from your thoughts, or from wanting to, because the brain is always want, we don't like an open loop, right? We want certainty, we want to close that loop, we want to know. And
Right.
so, and we're not going to, at least not for now. So
Right. And
yeah.
and it's like until we create the next. I mean, I was,
Mhm.
talking on, I think Sunday, a conversation around, transitions. Is that
Mm.
those
Mhm.
three? I don't know if you've read that book, Transitions, but there's the stages of, something ends, there's a
Mm.
neutral, and
Mhm.
there's a new beginning,
Yeah.
and I think that neutral, time, that most of us, including myself,
Yeah.
don't want to stay in too long, right?
Right.
Because you know because it's like,
Right.
what's next, what's gone, it's
Right.
like, okay, this just end, I'm
Yeah.
upset, or I'm glad, or whatever I
Right.
am, because this
Right.
ended. But very quickly, don't cry over spilled milk, and just kind of go into the next thing. And it
Mhm.
creates um, this space of really not being present,
Right.
to, um, your feelings, the emotions, and,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And I what I got from that section of the book is that, however long that neutral time is, you need to be in it, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
can't bypass it, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That is really important. Leo Babauta and his work around uncertainty.
Mhm.
Do you? Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
just
y-
a little.
yeah, I was on a call with him, not just me on a webinar, and he was talking about exactly what you're saying, honoring that 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 in between, that uncertainty, that unknown, and not just steamroll, like getting right into action, right? Or just wanting to move forward. And it's okay to get into action or whatever, but process your feelings about what has happened or what you anticipate is going to happen. That yes, that middle space is really important, not to just kind of steamroll over it, because then things are going to be coming out sideways, because you
Right.
haven't really um, experienced that, or just taken advantage of maybe the, going back to the word rest, the rest that gives you, because you aren't in the old paradigm and you're not in the new one yet. So
Right.
actually just allowing that to breathe a little bit. Yeah.
And I have a word on, I think it's Sunday, we're going to talk about normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, because I've kind of embraced that. Okay, what if this is
Yeah.
the new,
Yeah.
our new way? I know that there is going to be different ways of how we, relate to each other in public. There's a different
Yeah.
way of we do business in public.
Yeah.
I said something to my wife the other day, is that, COVID-19 has turned, or is going to turn everyone into, shoppers like men.
Yeah.
When we just go in, get what we want, and
Get
get
it
the
and
heck out of
go.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like,
Exactly.
yes, right?
Exactly.
No
Yeah.
lingering around, no kind
Yeah.
of thing around,
Right.
stuff.
Exactly. I
Just get
know.
in,
Yeah.
get out what and kind of do
Yeah.
that. And so we're going to have to find other ways to
Mhm.
kind of linger, and kind of
Right.
be
Right.
out in public.
Right.
And so,
Right.
and how are we going to discover that,
Yeah.
and
That
just being okay
mm,
with that change.
yeah, I don't know. That is something that I was talking to my coach about, because my work, literally my work was getting groups of people together to
Hmm.
bond physically and to go out and to interact with people physically. So, what
Hmm.
does that look like? And part of the reason that prompted me to do that was because I saw a lot of disconnection and a lot of
Hmm.
loneliness. And um, so we were already kind of in that state before. And now we're
Right.
being told, other people are potentially dangerous to your health. And that's true.
Right. Right.
But on the other hand, we all hold the peace to each other's health, in that physical touch is very healing, and is benefit you medically. So, and I also had started doing some work around what is your kindness voice, which is what is innately, how do you like to um, convey kindness. And one of the
Mm.
things was tactile, physical. I'm like, well, that whole thing is gone now, or it's not gone, but I really got to think about, what
Right, we
does
have to
that
rethink it,
mean?
right?
What does that
Right.
mean right now?
Mhm.
And the people who that is their primary one, what does that mean for them,
Right.
as far as we're going to have to get creative or have find a new normal, or
Right.
um so yeah, there are a lot of things that will change that will be good, but there's definitely given me a lot of food for thought. I've pivoted right now to play, which is something that's still accessible and doesn't necessarily have to be in physical proximity. But
Right.
yeah, there's a lot that um, is kind of underlining that. What is the new normal for in a lot of
Right.
ways? I mean, the
And
shopping was
and
good.
right, right, right. So you had fun just kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
meandering around and all that other kind of stuff.
Right,
It's
right,
no, come in, get what you
right,
want, and get out. I don't
right.
know what germs you got, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So,
It's just really, really resting. Um, like I said, in that, one, everything is it's going to be okay.
mhm,
If you believe that, and I'm not
mhm.
telling people, what to believe and how to feel within that, but
Right, right.
um, but also it's like that that we'll figure it out. There's
Mhm.
a rest in,
Yeah,
we will figure this out. We will find a way to connect with people on,
right.
on a human physical level.
Yeah,
We will find a way and not just give in to, in some cases, our fears
right.
of, of the whole thing. And like I said, the word, being responsible, and all that, and how I break down responsible or responsibility is our ability to respond.
Yeah.
And I think too often we give up our ability to respond when situations happen.
Mhm.
And so if real we don't really take ownership and say, okay, this is my response to this,
Yeah.
and this is how I'm going to, keep myself safe, keep the people that I love safe, keep my community safe, or whatever that, and just take it in. What is my response to the physical touch? What is my response to connecting with people? And just kind of um, figuring that out with the people that are around you. and
Mhm.
and it just, I think too often, in the busyness of our minds and the busyness of our life, we for we forget the power, in just taking a moment,
Mhm.
um, just kind of, it's not even what if, it is just saying, okay, I'm just going to wait. I
Mhm.
am just going to give myself space
Yeah.
for something to come within that, for an understanding to be clear, to have a conversation that I'm not having. And I think in this, time out, this pause, we are giving a gift that, as you said before, a lot of us said we want it, we need it,
Mhm.
you know. Um,
Mhm.
but during this time, because it was a force, type of thing, um, there is this questioning, this judging of it. There's a program that it was just a speech, but I'm developing it more, and I'm working on, a workbook now for it. It's called a soft reboot.
Mm.
And in it, I talk about, mindfulness and just taking a breath and just looking at, the busyness of your life.
Yeah.
But in the first part of it, I equate it to, rebooting our computer, right?
Mhm.
It's like when we decide to reboot our computer, it
Yeah.
takes the time that it takes, and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll do
Yeah.
something and it's there.
Yeah.
When the computer reboots on its own, it's like forever. It feels like it's
Yeah, it takes
forever.
10 times longer.
Right. It's just like, what is
Right.
happening right
Right.
now? And I
Right.
and I and I think that's because we've been forced into this reboots.
Yeah.
It's rebooted on its own, right?
Right.
That
Right.
we're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. You're stepping on my autonomy, man.
right,
I
right,
wasn't gonna reboot right now. Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
it's like, but this is a perfect gift. And
Mhm.
what the computer in that analogy was telling us, it's like, dude, there's a lot of stuff happening that shouldn't be happening right now. That and if you want to
Right.
do anything else, it's not going to work. So I'm
Right.
just going to shut down, right?
Right. Right.
Right,
Done.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's like,
Yeah. No, no, that's yeah, no, that's yeah, that's definitely true. And another thing is I named my company Kindagious because kindness is contagious, but so is anxiety. In fact, anxiety is more contagious than kindness. And
wow.
if you don't
Mm,
take physiologically, and if you don't take that rest, it's really easy to plug into because there is legitimately um, a lot of anxiety in general about all of
wow.
this, as well there should be. But if you don't intentionally take those breaks to unplug from that, it's very easy to be swept up in that. And I have found that myself. I was fine, everything's fine. Then my son and his girlfriend got sick, and I was like, oh my
Right,
god, and they're fine, you
right,
know. So it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much to because normally in our world, you know a few people that are anxious. Not, I mean, there's a lot of people that have anxiety, but people who
right,
don't normally operate in that energy space are now just because so much is up in the air. So it's collective. So it's even
right.
more important to uh, take the rest as we're describing now, just so that you don't get um, caught up in that or carried. Not, I don't want to say carried away, but just so that you can keep your own. Um, I don't even know what the word is, but so
Sanity,
you
I think, right?
sanity, yeah. So that you can be sure these are my feelings, right? These are
Right,
my thoughts. This
absolutely.
is my reality. It
Mhm.
isn't, and that's not to say that there isn't compassion for other people's reality, because of course we
Right,
have to keep that. But it gets really bad if you are carrying other people's realities in your body,
right.
right?
You know,
So
yeah, I posted something yesterday that I'm still unpacking for myself. I woke up with stop worrying about other people,
mm,
because it's not helping them, and it's hurting you.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
and I was just like, oh, but there's so many people that need help, and I want to, and it's just
I
like,
know.
let it go.
Yeah,
We'll figure, it'll
yeah.
work it out. But it is that
Mhm.
that state of worry and anxiety
Yeah,
that it's not helping me. It's not healthy,
yeah.
for
Right,
me. So,
right.
and so I'm looking to embrace how can I not worry, but
Yeah,
be there for
yeah,
people,
yeah, yeah.
be there
Mhm.
for, people that I love and care about. And I think the only way that I'm going to find that answer for myself, is to rest in that
Rest
question. Right,
and
right, right,
yeah, and self-kindness,
right.
because, I had the exact I mean, that's how when it first started, that's how I was. I found myself kind of almost immobilized, and
Mm.
even social media, I would go on and 30 seconds later my body would go like, nope, get off. And it was weird because I was just like, what, I need to connect to people, and I have medicine that, metaphorical medicine that can help people. And I kept
Right,
judging myself like, what are you doing? But I've done enough work listening to signals in my body. It was like, you need to process this. You need to take care of you right now. It is not any
right,
less kind that you're not reaching out and doing all these things. And that's why I brought up Leo's thing. That's what made sense to me was you need to process this for you. You're
Right.
not any good to anybody right now if you don't process as much as is possible in this moment. But I just
Right.
was trying to spring into action and do things and whatever, and it was just like, that's not what this time is for you. This time for you is just for you to find your footing and whatever, and then you can. And it is in contrast with people who are like you and I, who are used to helping. And I'm the
Right.
kindness person, for God's sake, right? And I'm not,
Right.
and I'm not
I
doing the
know.
kind things, so it's just like, what are you
Right.
doing?
Right. Right.
So I
Well,
mean, it is, yeah, it's, I get it.
Y-
I get it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
can, yeah, we can talk about this, for hours and days, and
Yes.
one
Yes.
and the busyness of it all, but
Yes.
and but
Yes.
wonder if we're extending rest to ourselves.
Yeah.
But is there any last thought that
Hmm.
you may have, or something that you would
Hmm.
want
Well,
to
I
share?
think it's just the thing that we talked about, to maybe reevaluate your relationship with the word rest. What can it mean? It could just be 30 seconds. It doesn't need to be a nap, or it doesn't need to be you know 10 hours of sleep or whatever. But that to really honor that right now is really an important, should be a important component of your daily life, just for mental health sake, I would say.
So I put your email up there. How else can
Okay.
people connect with you, and
Yeah,
anything
that's
you
my email,
working on?
and my website is the same, kindaegis.com. And if you're interested in the kindness voices, wanted to know which one you are, there's a quiz on there. But yeah, that's it. And
Okay.
thank you for
All
having
right.
me. This was fun.
Oh no, this is great. I greatly appreciate it. You're another one of my dear friends on the West Coast.
Yes, yes.
That
Speaking of rest, I was up at 7 o'clock to talk to you. Even
is
my dog
right.
was like, "What are you doing?" But yes, of course,
So,
it was
but
my
no,
pleasure.
but I appreciate it.
Of
If you
course.
can hang out in the
Sure.
green room, I can
Absolutely.
um,
Sure.
come back to you.
Okay, cool.
So, thank you. Bye bye. Um, wow, um, that was really great. Really um, I really got that the more that we figure out what rest means for us, not just what everybody else says it should be, or even that that inner voice that we have, but just as decide when we are going to physically take care of ourselves, mentally take care of ourselves, and so we can be available. I think what's coming up for me right now is you know the the safety message that we get when we're on the airplane of put your mask on first before you can help anybody else. And I think for me, rest is a part of that, taking care of yourself, and really embracing that, where you are and where you're not, and if this constant whatever energy that you have, the anticipation energy that you have for the next, or whatever you feel that you're doing, can get away from charging, and recharging, and being fully present. So thank you very much for being with me today. In closing, I want to say that the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow at 11. Well, we'll be talking about boredom, so that should be fun. Thank you very much. Be blessed.